So I want to welcome you all to OSU-Cascades. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Jenna Goldsmith. I am the program manager for the low residency MFA program in creative writing here at OSU-Cascades. And on behalf of our program, the Arts, Media, and Technology program, and our entire campus, welcome. So this is Scalehouse Voices. It's a program that is very near and dear to my heart. For those of you who are here for the first time, you're in for a real treat. For those of you who have been here before, you sort of know what to expect, but you're still really in for a treat. Voices Talks feature fresh voices, perspectives, and ideas of nationally and internationally acclaimed artists, designers, scholars. Tonight we are joined by artist and Sus magazine founder Ruth Vernotico for their talk about their journey as a creative and a magazine publisher. They're really excited to be here. The Pride edition of Sus comes out the last week of this month, so be looking for that. And they're honored to be partnering with Bend Pride Coalition for Bend Pride in Drake Park. So Vernotico's creative endeavors include digital and practical graphic design, photography, writing, musical production. In their talk, they'll share how Sus started as a casual creative outlet, but has grown into a publication that seeks to increase the visibility of 2S LGBTQIA+ community members, as well as others who do not identify as straight or cisgender in our community and beyond. So please join me in welcoming Ruth Vernotico.
Oh, this is so wild. Thank you all for coming. I wish my dog was here. He would be so proud of me. Big thank you, first and foremost, to Scalehouse for asking me to do this. Marley, you're a beautiful human, and I love you. We've been trying to figure out the mic situation, so if you can't hear me, just yell. That's your job, Mama. Thank you.
I think we could go up a little bit louder.
Okay, or I could just talk more. Do more talking. Okay, can y'all hear me? I also want to quickly just let y'all know that Sus is a nonprofit. Our board for the nonprofit is here. We've got 3 beautiful board members right here. Super proud of the people who tied their anchor to me because that was dumb. Super cool. I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about what I do, and I do a lot. Sometimes not great, sometimes pretty cool. And I very rarely actually talk about this out in the world, and I very, very rarely actually synthesize this into a thought for people. So here we go. My first step in doing everything is to say yes to everything. I'm really big on that. I'm big on putting myself in situations that make me uncomfortable, like being here right now with y'all. This is not my happy place. I don't love this. I love seeing all of you, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done. And I say we with Sus because it really has been all of you in the community and my beautiful board, and Sean from Cliche and Johnny. All of y'all have been so sweet and amazing. This has been a real project of community love and respect and honor to be able to do this with y'all. But it actually comes on the tip of me being in the creative world for a very long time. I'm gonna move this little mic. So last summer, I had a pretty serious job, and I was like, this isn't serving me anymore. I need to not be doing this job anymore. I worked in hospice, which was a lot, and I started out in my professional life as a creative person, working one account at a time with a design firm I started called Certainty. And I was really raised by wolves in regard to art. I did it because I felt like it was necessary and I really loved it. And I did it because I was passionate about it. That journey of actually starting Certainty really taught me to be self-sufficient. And back to the hospice conversation, one of the things I love about hospice nurses is when they're out in the field, they're very much like MacGyvers. They have to figure out all kinds of crazy problems. And I've always respected and loved that profession, and even more so for the things they're able to pull off out in the field with dying people. And I was very much self-sufficient in this job of working in art. I didn't ask for a lot of help, and I didn't really ask anyone to help shoo me along to the next thing or onto the next project. But I just kept plodding forward because it was what felt good to me and what felt right. So last summer I quit my job, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I don't know if y'all know this human being named Dan Young, who is the Auntie Carol here in town. We love her. Dan told me, I sat down with Dan, first meeting, and I said, I don't know if I'm going to stay here and bend. I don't know if this is for me. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And Dan was like, well, what do you like to do? What interests you? And I said, well, I'm an artist. I make music. I'm a DJ. I do these things. And he was like texting people under the table. He was actually texting Cliche so that he could get me the Pride gig last year. And then I flippantly said, hey, I think maybe I want to start a magazine, like a zine or something. And it was this one simple thing from Dan that really kind of made it all happen. And it was, if you do that, I will support you. And that's so, this is a lesson for everyone in this room. Be the people who say that to everyone else, to everyone's goofy ideas. Dan said, if you do a magazine, I will 100% do bingos to help support it and fundraise for you. And really, that was the permission that I needed to get us off the ground. And it's amazing that it's here today. And really, with him and the support of everyone else, it's why it's here. So my biggest lesson in all of this is doing every single thing that was put in front of me last summer. And I mean, really everything. I did a motorcycle biker camp out. That was cool. That was really wild, actually. I really love that. We started a book club last summer, queer book club. There's over 40 people in it. That's crazy. I launched this magazine called Sus, which is pretty cool. And I really got this idea of saying yes to things, my whole life I've been doing this, but one of my favorite things to do is just to open a map and see a body of water on the map and go, hey, I want to go do that thing with my dog. Let's go see what that is. It wasn't, often something really cool, but every once in a while I was just really amazed by the thing I found. And that has been the spirit that I've had since I was really young of just trying things. And maybe they're going to be really boo-boo, and sometimes they're going to be really cool. And that's really where Sus comes from. It's this idea of just absolutely saying yes, and to the weirder, the better, honestly. You want me to do something really ratchet? I'm down, let's go, I'll drive. I'll tell you about the twink party in Sun River sometime. It was wild. But to that, I definitely said, I'll drive. I think too, a really important point to make is in all of the adventures that I've been on in my life, people haven't always wanted to come with me on those things and do those things with me, or really have been in a place to actually lend themselves to whatever crazy thing I'm doing at the time. And I got very good at doing stuff alone. And that meant for me specifically that I got to experience a lot of things with my dog, who I love very much, he's like my child. But I also got to experience things in what I like to refer to as a silo, seeing them really personally for myself. How do I feel about this? Not in the light of somebody else. As a habitual people pleaser and overthinker, I can definitely get bogged down in what the person I'm with is experiencing. And doing things by myself was a real treat. It felt like doing something a little it felt very luxurious. I'm gonna go see this really horrible movie, one of those Marvel movies by myself, or, and it really trained me, and it trained my brain to think about things that I really loved and the things that I really was happy about. I love that. All of these experiences I've had in my life with Sus, with every little project I've had has come from this thing I've been doing probably for the last 15 to 20 years, and it's really documenting my life. I am very much into my phone and Siri to the point that like I have to step back every once in a while, but I absolutely talk to Siri every day. Hey Siri, add a history of words ending in "ussy" to my sus list. Girl, next time. I have a sus list, and it's wild. I actually was going to show you all it, but it was too stupid. Like, there's a lot of really dumb shit on that list, and I didn't feel, I was like, I don't know. And I mean this when I say, like, no idea is too stupid. Write it down. Sus, the magazine Sus was on one of those lists, and all these other titles of things that I wanted to do. I document so much that when I transferred phones and I lost like even one of my lists, I was really upset. It's all in there, all of it. I recommend that you say the awkward thing. I'm known for saying very awkward things all the time. Or the thing that's off color or off-putting. I do that because sometimes it just feels like what the situation needs. I don't know. But yeah, I say the awkward thing, and then I document what I said, and I document how people responded to it. I think I should probably not write jokes, but my ego is telling me I need to be writing jokes. And then everything I do, the whole process for Sus and all of my ideas, they get pulled out of my notes app in my phone, and they end up here, which is a punch list, essentially. So everything I do, like, where's Pride? Pride's in here somewhere. Here it is. It even says at the top, Pride Month. I break down my idea. Like, what do I need to do to make this idea happen? And I start very succinctly writing a list and whittling away at that list, really like slowly making sure that I have everything I need to make that one thing happen. All of the ideas for the things that are in Sus, like the astrology, the different interviews I've done, what's really goofy, does anyone know what the hanky code is? So we're doing a whole article on the hanky code. I was with someone really awesome the other day and I thought of it and I was like, hey Siri, remind me to do that later. I lose ideas pretty easily because I've got that brain. But documenting it really helps keep me there. It helps actually keep me on like what I need to do for every single issue, and not only that, but like other art projects I have as well. That's my big recommendation to everybody. No matter how banal or benign you think your life is and how you may not feel like it's super interesting, I promise you there's gold in there. I also recommend that y'all make bad art. I make a lot of bad art. I really do. I make a ton. You know, one of my toxic traits, and I think it's a beautiful trait too, is I really do, at the end of the day, think I can do anything. I'm like, I mean, I'm gay, how hard could it be, honestly? I can tell you for a fact that I can't paint, I can't carve or whittle, I can't knit, I can't etch glass. There's a lot, but I only know that because I tried it all. I burned my hand actually etching glass and it was horrible. I also can't do cyanoprints. I can't really sew. I have really tried all of those things, and I only know that because I did it. And I recommend to anyone who's trying to explore and attain an artistic life to do those things. Do all of the stuff. If you see it on TikTok and you're like, that looks cool, try it. Don't just stick to what you know, do all of it and do it often. And what I mean by that and what I practice with that is ultimately having a conversation with myself every day that's, you know, hey, what are you doing today for yourself? A, what are you doing for yourself today that's artistic? And what are you doing today that actually brings you joy? One of the big reasons I quit my job last summer was there wasn't a lot of that. There wasn't a lot of time for myself. And I'll tell you, like, as I'm progressing through life and I'm figuring things out with the magazine and all the other projects I have, I'm also very much realizing that, like, no matter what my next step is, I absolutely have to make room for whatever art I'm doing. And anyone in this room who's an artist or who wants to become an artist, I recommend that. You really need to make sure that you have time for that. Save time for yourself and save time for the things that bring you joy. You can always ask for help. You can always ask for help on anything you're doing. The internet's a really amazing place, and as awkward as that can definitely be sometimes, I have this great gift of just saying like, hey, I don't know how to do this, and I think you do. Can you help me? The entirety of Sus, and I can't stress this enough, the entirety of that magazine is me reaching out to people in our community, like T-Fly and beautiful Scalehouse folks and OSU and all of you, my board, all these people up here, and saying, hey, I don't know how to do this, can you help me? I need help with this. Do you know anyone? Do that and do it often. And then once you feel like you're actually doing something with your art, you're making something that you're proud of, I recommend, and this is really how I've approached it, is to fuck shit up. Start advocating through your art. Do things that matter to you. You know, the mission for Sus and what really drives us, and this is from our website. Who wrote that? That's crazy. Create and foster spaces, both physical and virtual, where true LGBTQIA+ people feel included, represented, safe, and provided with tools, resources to assist in navigating the world. You know, that seems like maybe a little corporate speaky, but I'll tell you that mission drives every decision that we make. For those of you who live in town with the Sisters Coffee issue that we experienced, you know, that all of the decisions we made, we went back to this mission to say, hey, how is it serving our mission? Is that what we should be doing? Is this the right move? The mission, whether that's for a 501c3, which Sus is, or if it's for your art business, or for yourself and your art ideas, stick to your mission and figure it out. And I think that will guide you no matter what the decision that you have to make. Last year, 1,352 people were killed by the police in the United States. 84% of those were BIPOC, and 24% were 2S LGBTQIA+. I'm telling you all this because this also illustrates and kind of underscores our mission and what we really care about. We joke a lot in the magazine, maybe too much, maybe not, about ACAP. And it's really kind of one of the fundamental parts of doing the magazine we do. We don't trust the police. And we also have like I think a responsibility to share that experience with everyone in this community. It's incredibly important. But we look back on that when we make decisions about Sus and about the path forward. How do we feel about that? How are we going to work with the police in the future? Especially as they start doing things like Riot and working more out in the community, how are we going to do this in a responsible way? Going back to some of our ethos. And you know, I think it's really important to also not sell out. In 2020, Group Hollywood is rocking on the Roman Ranch. I can't say this enough, this kills me, honestly. Group Hall, I can't. You should always, you know, think about where you're getting money, if you're getting money as an organization or an artist. I think, especially, I mean, in this economy, it's not easy to have people offer you money, especially big organizations. Sus has had a lot of money thrown at it that it's had to say no to. Again, going back to our mission, going back to what we do, and understanding that like every decision we make now in regard to money and help and all of that stuff really indicates the path forward. Every dollar we take from people who don't support our community, or who haven't in the past, or who just maybe aren't great people, is essentially putting bricks in front of us for the road that we're creating for the future. And I think it's really important to have that conversation with yourself as an artist, but as a human being and as a member of this community, and especially as a member of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, understanding what that looks like. You know, we created a thing called reparations fundraising for Sus magazine, and essentially what that was, when an organization wanted to advertise in Sus, we would give them the reparations fundraising model, which was $150,000 for a one-page ad. We weren't saying no to them, but we were saying, if you want to advertise on us, if you want to launder your bullshit through my magazine, you're going to have to pay this amount of money, and we're going to donate the majority of that to BIPOC, trans, to us LGBTQIA organizations in our community that you've heard. You know, that's happened a couple times, and it was at the beginning of SUS when we really needed the money. It wasn't easy. I wasn't working. It would have been so easy to take that check. And I just really stuck to our mission. But I also rely heavily on people I care about and ask them for their advice. And I recommend that you get those people you trust. And I also recommend in these times when you're dealing with things like that, when you're talking about, hey, I don't know if I should be doing this, and you come out the other side of it, make art about it. I think so much of what we do well in life is great art, and so much of that is in SUS every day. Like when I'm creating things for the magazine, so much of it is inspired by the stuff that we've gone through in building it, and all of the relationships I've made out here in the community. I think it's really important to underscore too, the power of putting yourself out there and doing something that's really scary. Last summer, when I quit my job, I hadn't really met anyone in town. I was so busy working. I was working 18-hour days. I had no friends, literally. So the really supportive, beautiful community that I have around me now is all literally in a little under a year. And I think that's also a real testament to this place. I've lived in some big cities in my life, and I'll tell you, I've never experienced a career community that's this cohesive and together and willing to support. That first Pride that I went to, that I DJ'd at, I was there and I was just really blown away because 300 people, more than that, 400 people showed up. And I was like, where the fuck were all these people? I had no idea. This is a jam. It really is. If you're queer, if you're 2S LGBTQIA+, if you are any of those things or leaning, you are sitting on one of the most amazing communities I've ever experienced that support things like SUS Magazine, Everywhere is Queer, and all of the beautiful people here. So, yeah, let's hear it for Bend. So that was nerve-wracking.
Can you speak a little bit more about your process in recording your thoughts? So I know you talked to Siri. Are you drawing? Are you writing? Do you keep a journal? Can you expand a little further on that?
So I really didn't want to go into this because of how wild it's going to make me seem. But I think I saw it on a TV show one time, someone call it a mind palace, but I have that essentially in my head. And I didn't realize that this was maybe unusual until my editor was like, that's weird. But I have the whole magazine essentially in my mind already. So for Pride, as I was working to get it out of my head, I could flip a virtual magazine in my head and see it all there. I knew what everything was, I knew what pages there were. If you ask me what page an ad was on, I'd be like, oh, that's on page 12. That's the main thing. I placed it all in my head, but as I work to kind of build out ideas that maybe sometimes go off of the page or they're bigger than that one page and they're sprawling over different issues and editions, I will map those things out in notes. And that really starts with me doing exactly what I did or tried to do here with Siri, is I have a list that's essentially in my reminders in iOS, and it just says SUS. And it's literally just a dump of every dumbass idea I've ever had for the magazine, and it all goes in there. And when I'm feeling uninspired or I'm just curious to see what I wrote in there, it's kind of, I have ADHD, so I'll be going on that list and it's like Christmas morning. I'm just like, when did I come up with that? That's wild. It's really cool. So I kind of go through that list and I'll pull things out and go, okay, this is really good for the next issue. Yeah, that's a big part of it. And then if I find an idea that I'm like, oh, this is going to go in, I just essentially create a dummy square with the text in it and drop it in where I think it's going to go. And then if I need to really flesh that out on any of my ideas, I always go back to this, my little punch list. And I work through those punch lists, and sometimes, if it's a good day, a punch list will be another punch list, and sometimes 3 and 4 punch lists. But that means that I'm really getting it kind of fleshed out. Yeah.
Can you speak, if you want to, about the origin of the name of sus, the naming of the magazine?
Girl.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of, I'm from New Orleans, and I have 2 of the lights of my life live there, and I talk to them every day, sometimes 3 and 4 times a day. And my friend Lydia, who's a very talented artist, love her, she's also in sus. She and I spitball all the time, and it's this like, we just riff off of each other, and like, oh, what about this, what about this? And it's like the dumbest shit. I also put all of that in my notes. We were trying to come up with funny names for zines. And I just said sus, because we used to always say everything was sus. And I think we used to have the definition at the top of the magazine. And there was something like, when someone's acting a little fruity, I think is. I think, it's suspicious, or somebody, when I say that, I'm like, that person's gay as hell. That's kind of what I think of when I say sus. But I think it has a broader term. It's essentially, I think, just a little reflection of like, it's a nod to Gen Z culture and language, and it's just something I think is personally hilarious, which is a good note too. I think there's gold in jokes. I never shut up. I'm very rarely serious, and so many of the dumb things I think of and the really beautiful things I think of are started out as jokes, and sus was definitely that too. Hi.
Hi. As an established queer creator in the community, what would you tell maybe new queer people who want to get involved creatively in the community? What would you tell them? What steps would you give them?
I would tell them to call me. I would say find somebody who has a bandwidth to show you the doors and the things to do. I was lucky that I found you and Johnny, and I was lucky that I found people like T-Fly and Dan, and these people who shared their history and experience with me, and people who continue to do that, like Ben Pride Coalition, one of my favorite humans, Chanel. Those relationships are important. Having someone that can, when you're coming new to a place, it's rough. I was, here with literally no support network. My entire group of people was in New Orleans, and I moved up here on a whim because I hate the heat. I hate it so much. And I never say the H word. I usually say I don't love it, but I do. I hate the heat. I really do. And when Roe v. Wade was overturned in the South, I called my boss and I was like, hey, so I need you to get me the fuck out of here before this turns into Gilead. I don't want to be here anymore. And I got moved up here to Penn. And she asked me where I wanted to go, and I said somewhere cold and liberal. And I ended up here with nobody. I had no support, nothing. My dog was in it. He was tired of talking to me after a couple of days. But I would extend a hand. I would really ask that person like what they need. Listen to them. I think listening to people is really important, especially when they're asking for help. It's so easy to jump in and just say like, let me solve all these problems, but you might be solving the wrong problems. So listen, I think is a huge deal. I had a lot of people who did that for me, and I was really grateful. Instead of regurgitating what they wanted to see or have happen, they asked me what I wanted to do, and then help me connect to those people. Yeah. Anyone else? Don't be quiet, don't be shy either. Don't fight.
I have one more. Would you speak a little bit about the process from going to print for the first time to where sus is now and what the future is for sus?
Yeah, totally. So I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm not a publisher. I was a graphic designer for many years. I started a design company called Certainty, which I told y'all. And I worked on like print production stuff, but like I never like was the person calling the printmaker and being like, here you you know, like how many schemes are we going to need, like stuff on none of that. So, you know, I want to give a huge shout out and a lot of love to Erin from Source. It would have been really easy, especially as an overthinker, to look at that situation and go, they're not going to be happy I'm making this magazine. And I wasn't that. I maybe did do that like for a second, but you know, I met Erin, and what an incredible and beautiful human being. The Source told me where to go get printed. You know, they were like, you need to go to Wenatchee World up in Washington, and they'll deliver down here. It's where everyone's getting their stuff printed. And you know, I was like, are you serious? You just handed me this? This is so cool. So, you know, the process really for us is, again, in my head. I'm kind of building that out in my mind and thinking about what it's going to look like. And then there's like some umbrellas that are kind of put on that, and that's how I see it in my head. I don't know if that was clear, but like I see like the magazine, and then above it are these like umbrellas that are big ideas, essentially. For the last issue, the Earth issue, which was a damn nightmare, by the way. We did one issue with 5 different covers, because I have no show at all, and I thought that was going to be real easy with like 2 people. And how we did that, how we worked that out, is essentially, I have an editor, their name is Meredith, and they're amazing. Meredith and I just sat around and pulled the things out of my head into the physical world and onto my computer. We laid them out kind of on the floor at first and kind of figured it out. And then I told them about the 5 different covers issue, and they were just like, I don't think they heard. And then when I actually explained and laid it out, they were like, what the? No, why would you do it? I was like, it'll be fine, we'll figure it out. It's all logistics, man, it's gonna be cool. Yeah, so I walked through this about 2 to 3 months before it all happened. I started having the idea for the magazine, I started thinking about what the theme is gonna need to be, and then I worked really hard to kind of like get us there. But I'll tell you, to be really honest and transparent, and I think this is important, it's messy, it's not easy. So much of the stuff that I'm doing is like 11th hour shit. Like, I'm putting all kinds of stuff in that magazine between like 11 and 12, just like, boop, boop, boop. I'm gonna have this whole new section. You know, we're working on a timeline of queer history for the Pride issue, and I don't know that we've really like communicated this super well, but like this theme for Pride this year is important to me. It's history, it's the history of the queer community. One of the first pieces of feedback I got back from SUS was from a community member who said they really felt like SUS needed to be focusing on some of the people who helped build this community. And this is an answer to that, essentially. Started building this timeline. The timeline was 2 pages. It's 20 pages now. It's pretty cool. I'm really excited for y'all to see it. And we might even have it up on the web, which is going to be really amazing, like accessible from our website, and kind of you're able to like, you know, interact with it a little bit. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Oh, sorry if anybody else has questions. Distribution. I know your boots on the ground.
Y'all, this is a mess. So distribution's a hot mess, and I won't lie. It's like, you know, there's my strength, like the thing I think I'm really good at, maybe not great at, but like good at, is the design stuff. I like love that. I love being in the magazine, crafting it. The business part of it, oh, it sucks. But I do it because I get to do the design stuff. Like there's the dirt, right? Like how, you know, how it's all made. Distribution is a lot. We started with 7 community partners, and we're over 100 now between Bend. We're over 100 now between Bend, Redmond, Sisters, Portland, and Eugene. And up until very recently, I had to go to every one of those places and drop them off. And I know that people are like, no, why are you doing that? My own board is like, that is not founder mentality, like you need to stop doing that. But the truth is, you know, that I want to have those relationships with the people that are having the magazine in their place. Like, I want to understand what this magazine is. Going back again, that comes directly from our mission. I don't want us to be in a place that isn't welcoming to queer people. I don't want to lure people into a place that isn't like supportive or good for them, even if they've got one of those stickers on the door that says, you know, all are welcome. I want to make sure that I'm experiencing that for myself. I've been into every single one of our distributors. Every single one, I have a personal relationship. I could call them on the phone right now and talk to them. And that's important to me because I don't want to set anyone in the community up to go to a place that isn't cool or conducive to like us or who we are. I also want to make sure that they understand what they're getting themselves into. After the Sisters Coffee issue, you know, I'm very hands-on with that. I want to make sure that those relationships are solid and that I'm doing my job of communicating what's in this. There's cuss words all up in sus. We're saying fuck all the time. It's crazy. And I want to make sure people are cool with that. Like, if there's a lot of kids around and stuff, I could see someone being like, yeah, I don't know if this is the best, you know, and like, I get that. So yeah, it's very hands-on, but right now, 2 of my very beautiful and sweet board members have taken that task over, and I'm super grateful. If anyone in the audience wants to distribute, let me know, but that's a volunteer job right here.
Could you share what happened with the Sisters Coffee?
Yeah, I don't mind. You know, and I think a lot of people have been reticent or hesitant to talk about, you know, ask me about it. And the truth is that I live in the light, always. Something that a lot of y'all don't know about me is I'm 13 years sober. You'll often hear folks in the program talk about, you know, there's no room for hiding things. I do what I do, and if I fuck up, I make amends, but, you know, I 100% sit in the light here. Yeah, in October of 2023, I went into Sisters Coffee originally and was like, hey, I'd like to put this magazine here. And they were just like, cool, yeah, that's fine, sounds good. 10 fingers. They didn't do that. And I forgot about it. So in January, I came back and I was like, well, I had this on my list and I missed this one. So I came back. Sean was on the cover, making out with Johnny. Love that. I went in and I essentially said, I spoke to someone before and I'd like to drop these off, and the guy was like, cool. And I flipped it over. I was carrying it down so you couldn't see them making out. I flipped it over, unbundled it, and set it down, and then this other man made a beeline to me and to the guy I was talking to, pulled him aside, and I got in line because it was like, not my problem. And then the guy I originally spoke to walked up and was like, I think you need to take these with you so that they're not used as kindling in our fire. And I was like, what? And I just, you know, to be really frank, and I'm not going to cry, I might, but I'm not going to cry. You know, I hadn't, and it sounds, you know, I think in our machismo society we're, you know, trained like man up, and, you know, but I had never felt embarrassed about my queerness since I was a kid. Like, that was horrible. That was a really shitty experience. I sat in my car, and I mean, fully cried. I was just like, oh, that really sucked. I feel really gross about this. And it felt very like schoolyard. I sat on that for a while. Like, I didn't make the video right away. I got right before the pass to Portland, because I was going to distribute in Portland. And I was like, you know, I don't want anyone else in this room or in this city or anywhere to ever feel like I just felt like that was horrible. And I made a video, and it essentially blew up. If you haven't seen it, they're already archived on our Instagram. I apologize. But yeah, and then it just was a subsequent events after that were just not great, and the way that they handled it wasn't great. Yeah, but kudos to me for not realizing how supportive everyone was going to be. You know, I went on Instagram and I said very frankly, hey, I don't want to cancel this business. I just want us to be very, like, considerate of how we spend our money. Every single penny we spend is a vote for that business, for that person. We need to make very, very certain that we're spending that money in the correct way, supporting people that support us and everyone on Alphabet Island, all of us. Not just for white gay men, like all of us. And I told people straight up, like, don't cancel them, you know, don't leave bad reviews or do anything crazy. Just please stop spending your money there. And this community has no chill at all. I did not expect that. I really appreciate the support, but like people came out, you know, with all of it, and I was just like, damn. But yeah, they still haven't talked to me, which is wild. They have literally talked to like 20, 30 people about this and brought in DEI experts, and every one of those folks has said, hey, you need to talk to Ruth about this. They still haven't talked to me. But yeah, I do, and I say this with all the love in my heart, and I mean this. I wish them nothing but the best, and I wish, you know, anyone who has like hate or, you know, ignorance in their heart the best. And the one big takeaway from all of that for me, so we're super clear, is, you know, I'm very, very sad that that kind of hate exists in the world. Not only like in real life, but in those comments, like the comments on Instagram and stuff that people were saying things. I didn't take that personally. Like, I was just incredibly sad that somebody or something hurt those people so bad to make them do that. That kind of pain exists in the world, and it's a pain that we all have to navigate as 2 LGBTQI+ people, and it makes me really sad. It's a bummer.
We have time for one more question.
Who's it gonna be?
Or not. Just kidding.
How do you not just be angry at things like that? Like, how is it that you have such a positive outlook that you can just be like, I feel sad for those people? Has that been part of your sobriety journey? Have you always been discerning of fucking light? How?
I forgot one slide, hold on. I'm a Muslim. I'm a practicing Sufi. I studied Homeland Security in school, if you can believe it. I got talked into that one by my counselor. And the really fucked up part is that to get a Homeland Security degree in the United States, you have to study Islam. So I was given a task to find a sect of Islam to study, and I was like, my dumbass literally was like, rarest sect of Islam. Because I had to be extra, I don't know. I just didn't want to do what everyone else was doing, so I found this Sufis, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I've never heard of them before. And I started reading, and you know, our big tenet is that we believe that God exists in every living thing. And I've always felt like that. I'm, you know, enormously kind, more kind to animals and living things than I am to humans sometimes. But I agree with that. And one of our other big tenets is like, if you harm a living thing, you find a way to make up for it. Whether it's in, you know, meditative prayer in the morning and you're trying to figure out like, how am I going to be a better person? Or directly like speaking to them and saying like, hey, I kind of fucked up, sorry. That's a big part of it. I also have been, you know, before I was sober, I was a fucking bitch. I was so mean. I was like that gay person, and I never want to do that again. That never brought me any joy or happiness, and it, not only that, but it kind of sucked the air out of the room. And I wanted to be the person, and I started navigating through this with my art. I wanted to be the person that listened, and I wanted to be the person that like sat and was able to comfort people, and not the person that was creating the tension or the discomfort. And it's to the point now, like, and I'll share something with y'all. You know, I was moving my car downtown, and I had a sus shirt on. And I'm really gonna try hard not to cry, because this was horrible. I moved the car, and I was coming back to Turtle Island, where I work from, and someone was like, oh, I love the magazine, it's so great. And because of my ADHD, I realized I forgot something in the car. So I go back to the car, heading back to Turtle Island, and someone passed me. They turned around, they put their finger in my face, and they said, you're a fucking faggot, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And, you know, for a brief second, I was like, you have no fucking idea who you're playing with. Didn't say that, I thought it. It was just very like, oh, like, you know, very knee-jerk response. But then, you know, I thought, that person's in a lot of pain. Like, what do they need to hear right now? And I said, I'm really sorry that you are obviously in a ton of pain, and I'm really sorry if I had anything to do with that. I hope that you have an amazing day, and I hope you feel better. and they just walked away. Like they didn't continue. They just, I think, maybe got deflated and were like, peace, see you later. You know, I told that to a couple people, and they were like, I bet that person feels like shit. And I was like, that's not the goal. Like, I just want them to think about the people that they are interacting with and the things that they're saying. I'm a human being, and you know, I'm really sensitive. I am not shy about that. Like, I'll tell you right now, I cry at least 3 times a day. Yeah, that's how I manage that, and it's rough, but like, I think the alternative is way worse for me, anyways.